Welcome to OGE's Confidential Financial Disclosure Filing Tutorial for new entrant filers of the OGE Form 450. If you're an annual filer, some of your reporting requirements will differ. In that case, please consult the instructions on the form. Today, we're going to explain why you've been asked to file an OGE Form 450. We'll then walk you through the form part by part and discuss the information you are required to provide. We will pay close attention to those areas that are challenging to new filers. Why am I being asked to file an OGE Form 450? Your agency has decided that your job involves duties and responsibilities that make a conflict of interest or other ethics concern more likely to arise. By having you fill out an OGE Form 450, your ethics official can give you advice about potential conflicts. These may exist between your duties and any personal financial interest you and your immediate family may have. What does a conflict of interest look like? Essentially, a conflict of interest is when your government responsibilities involve or affect your personal financial or other interests. A conflict of interest may influence your decisions and affect your ability to be impartial. Here's an example of a possible conflict. Let's say you are asked to serve on a source selection where your spouse's employer is a bidder. This situation might create a financial conflict of interest. Why avoid conflicts? Working on a government matter when you have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict can have many negative consequences. It can cause harm to your job, introduce bias, result in challenges and investigations, and the loss of public trust. It could affect your agency's programs and subject you to disciplinary or, in some cases, criminal and non-criminal penalties. By submitting the OGE Form 450, your agency can help you avoid conflicts. What do I have to report? You must report assets and income, liabilities, outside positions, arrangements or agreements, gifts, and travel reimbursements. Gifts and travel reimbursements are only reportable for annual filers. Each part of the form contains a set of instructions explaining both what to report and what not to report. We'll introduce you to these instructions as we discuss each part. The cover page. There are 3 sections to the cover page: contact information, reporting statements, and signature. Contact information. The first section is where you will provide background and contact information. These help your agency ethics official identify you, your filing status, and contact you with questions. It is important that you fill this out completely. It is also important to accurately report your date of appointment because you must file your report within 30 days of this date. Reporting statements and your signature. In the next section are reporting statements. Here you will indicate whether you have any items to report on each part of the form. You do this by checking either the yes or no boxes for each part. After reading the instructions for each part and you decide you don't have anything to report, you can simply check the no boxes and the cover page becomes your whole report. If you answer yes to any part, you must list those reportable items in the appropriate parts of the form. We will go over the instructions in more detail as we review each part of the form. Finally, do not forget to sign and date the report before submitting it. Your signature certifies that the statements you made are true, complete, and correct to the best of your knowledge. Each part of the form comes with its own set of instructions. The instructions will help you determine how to answer the reportable statements on the cover page. The left-hand column tells you what items you are required to report. The right-hand column tells you what you do not have to report. Read both columns. Many reporting errors come from both underreporting and overreporting items. Part 1, Assets and Income. Part 1 of the form is where you record your assets and income. What do you report? As a new entrant filer, you only have to disclose assets worth more than $1,000 that you or your spouse or dependents hold as of the date you file your report. You also need to report the source of any earned income greater than $1,000 that you or your spouse earned in the past 12 months. What kind of assets and earned income are reportable? Let's start with earned income because it's pretty straightforward. Earned income for both you and your spouse, if applicable, includes things like salary, fees, commissions, and honoraria from sources other than the U.S. government. It does not include your dependent child's income or U.S. government benefits and salary. Now let's turn to reportable assets. Assets are anything held for investment or the production of income. Among this list of assets, the types most commonly reported are stocks, fixed or variable annuities, sector mutual funds, and holdings in retirement accounts such as IRAs and 401ks. Among the things you should not report include federal retirement plans and your TSP, checking and savings accounts, or diversified mutual funds. Let's take a look at some common entries and how you would report them. These first two entries are for sources of earned income. A common reporting error is forgetting to list spousal earned income. On line 1, we have shown how to accurately report income from a former employer, and on line 2, we show how to report spousal income. Our next entries address another common reporting error, forgetting to report the specific names of the stocks, bonds, and sector funds you may have in an IRA or 401k. On lines 3 and 4 are examples of how to report a 401k and IRA that have sector funds included in their holdings. On line 5 is an example of an IRA that has a stock with a ticker symbol. Part 2, liabilities. Liabilities are money owed to a creditor that exceeds $10,000 as of the date of filing. On line 1 is an example of money owed to an individual, such as a personal loan from a friend. Non-reportable liabilities are loans from financial institutions or business entities, provided they are subject to terms that are available to the general public. So you do not report the mortgage on your personal residence, student loans, credit card accounts, as long as they have terms available to the general public. You also don't have to report money owed to your spouse, parent, sibling, or children. Part 3, outside positions. Report for yourself only. You are required to report certain types of positions you held during the last 12 months or that you currently hold other than your government position. These positions are reportable even if you were not compensated for them. Examples of compensated outside positions include your former employer if you were employed within the last 12 months, any full or part-time employment such as part-time teaching or serving as a paid consultant. Also, any business interests such as being a partner in or owner of a business. On line 2 is an example of full-time employment that was held within the last 12 months but is no longer held. Non-compensated positions are things such as serving as an officer or board member of a nonprofit or a professional association. On line 1 is an example of how to report a board member position that is currently held. Do not report positions held by your spouse or dependent children, positions you hold as a part of your official government duties, or positions with any religious, social, fraternal, or political groups. Part 4, agreements and arrangements. Reportable agreements and arrangements are typically prior employment-related payments and plans, like pension and retirement benefits, and future employment agreements both for moonlighting jobs or post-government service. Report for yourself only. Some examples of reportable agreements and arrangements are continued participation in an employee pension or benefit plan of a current or former employer. On line 1 is an example of how to report continued participation in a defined benefit plan. Other reportable agreements and arrangements are a leave of absence, continuation of payments by an outside source from a current or former employer. This includes severance payments and future employment. Future employment means both outside activity employment that runs concurrently with your government position and employment that will terminate your government service. Do not report future employment if you are going to another federal entity. You also do not report continued participation in a defined contribution plan, such as a 401k plan, if your former employer no longer makes contributions to the plan. Do not report agreements or arrangements related to your government employment. or spouse or dependent children arrangements or agreements. Part 5, Gifts and Travel Reimbursements. Part 5 is only required for annual filers. Once you've reviewed and completed each part, don't forget to sign and date your report before you submit it. If you have questions about how to fill out this form, contact your agency's ethics official. This form is important because it allows your ethics office to help you quickly identify and resolve any conflicts to protect both your integrity and your agency's work. Thank you.